Welcome everybody. We're live, and I just want to check, as I usually do, just check my X account just to make sure that everything is coming through, the sound and all the rest of it. Just getting on my screen here. Okay, just having a look, just checking it's going, everything's going as it should be. And we've got accounts linked up as well. Your accounts are linked up as well, haven't they, Vibra?
Yep.
We're brilliant. Okay, just having a look, just checking it. The sound is on. I'm just gonna.
What up, Erwin? Fake Camo Joe. Good to see you, my man.
Capital, right? Okay, so that is now shared and out in the universe. How are you today? All right. How are you doing, Vibra?
Doing well, man. Doing well. Even though the markets are capitulating, more and more bullish news comes out every day. More announcements, more partnerships. So I've been saying it for a while that all of the prices in crypto right now are not reflective of their true values. Everything is criminally not everything, but utility coin stuff that has community, has developers working on it, is tackling something in the real world. They're criminally undervalued. So I saw the Solana phone is getting delivered to people in like a week. In like September 6th through 8th, people are going to start getting them. So I think that's going to start to kick off a little bit of a frenzy in the mainstream, and then that, how it trickles to everywhere else after that.
I mean, I'm looking at the markets at the moment, and I'm just I'm looking around and seeing where I'm topping up. That's all I'm doing. And people, you can see a bit of, you can see, we're going to be talking about that. We've got a slide actually that talks about the psychology of investing. And you can see that there's a lot of people on X that just haven't kind of understood that psychology that I kind of learned when I was investing in stocks. I mean, I wasn't a big investor or anything like that, but I think you just got to learn to switch those emotions off and just see where the opportunities are. But also with, like you were saying, with crypto, there's a lot of adoption taking place in a lot of different protocols. And obviously QUBIC and QUBIC Capital is one of those where things are happening, and price doesn't necessarily follow immediately, but at some point it absolutely will. So yeah, people are piling in. Thanks for coming, everybody. I just appreciate you all turning up for our streams. Just to let you know as well that me and Vibra, we've got a project called QStream, and it's currently in the proposal for QUBIC streaming. So we're going to be hopefully doing a weekly stream, which is going to basically be covering QUBIC and all the projects in and around QUBIC. Any news, obviously only positive stuff, because that's what we feel QUBIC is at the moment. And yeah, we're just going to be talking and drilling down and bringing guests on and literally, hopefully getting the newbies to understand the project a little bit clearer. Get to kind of the level that we're at. I'm not saying I'm an expert or anything like that, but I've got a clear understanding of the project and where the project is going. So without further ado, do you think we should crack on with the slides?
Yeah. I mean, I'm just excited, man. Even though the prices right now are so down, like retail is lingering in the background, and as soon as I'm already seeing just on the mainstream in general, on CNBC and MSNBC, they're talking a lot more about crypto, and some of the private groups I'm hearing some rumblings that you're going to hear XRP come out of Trump's mouth, Elon's mouth, and potentially Amazon by the end of the year. So something like that happens, and with taxes potentially being reduced for cryptos, like something's going to happen where they're going to spark that retail interest. And we can be super worried right now or nervous or not knowing if the bull market's going to come. And in a week from now, ETH could be at 5,700 and we're all just going nuts. And then you just forget about this immediately. So I'm just excited.
Yeah, same here as well. And while you were saying that, actually, I was just kind of, I can echo that completely. And interestingly, that you know, I've had loads of parties over the summer here because the weather's been fantastic in my garden, and everybody that comes around, we get onto the subject, obviously, of crypto and investing and stuff like that. And I ask people, you know, are you into crypto? And surprisingly, over the last few weeks, I've noticed that more and more people that I've not been aware that are in crypto are actually have bought stocks in crypto, which I'm feeling that there's a little bit of energy within retail, trying to get ahead of the game. And I think we're still very, very early, and I think there's some big bargains to be had. So yeah, very, very positive and bullish on the whole crypto sphere. So today we got a huge agenda. I got we've got some brilliant stuff that we've been working on. We've been preparing. So obviously I've told you already about the news of the QStream proposal. So which is going to be more QUBIC focused as a whole project. So that's in for voting. I think they got several days to vote. So hopefully the computers, the validators of QUBIC will see that and hopefully give us a tick. I think it's we've put in a really fair offer. And obviously there's a substantial amount of work that goes into these streams. So we're looking at our agenda. Sorry, mate.
Is there that, so there's nothing that like our followers or anything that can really do? We can't go vote on it or anything. It's just the validators of the network that hopefully we get their attention or something, creating enough eyes or something like that to where they say, all right, this is a good thing.
Yeah, I think some of the folks within QUBIC are obviously aware of us. I've done loads of streams with various people, so hopefully there's going to be a good word passed to the validators, the computers, and then we'll, you know, hopefully get a good result out of it. But who knows? I think with regards to our followers, yeah, I mean, if there is actually on the Discord, there is on the voting channel, there is a QStream section, and they can feel free to go in there and put some hopefully positive comments about what we're doing and what we're planning. But I think if you go on there, in the pinned item, there is the QStream GitHub page, and you know, when I was looking at it today before it was submitted, and I think it looks really good. And also, me and Vibras have been planning behind the scenes. We've been planning the streams. We've got a whole 12 streams that we're already got kind of semi-written up. So we've got some big things, like, for example, Q&A with CFB. We're going to drill down on a lot of the main core aspects of QUBIC, all with an intention of keeping the QUBIC community entertained, but also hopefully making those that are not yet into QUBIC quite excited with the project. So good question, Vibra. Yeah, and hopefully that our followers will, you know, get involved and say, yeah, can't give them a chance. And, you know, obviously they're enjoying it. And you know, you only have to look at our numbers. Our numbers are getting crazy. I don't know about today, but the some of our streams, I think the last stream, I think we hit 1,200 live viewers, and I think it hit about 4,000 afterwards, and it's probably still growing. In fact, I was looking at the last stream just to do a bit of research for this stream, actually. So yeah, I think I'm feeling very positive about it, and I'll be honest with you, I think streaming is really important for a crypto project. Especially streaming done well. There'll be a lot of people that will be listening in. that will just be like, putting it on where they're driving home from work or wherever they are in the world, depending on what they're doing. Obviously, it's Friday night here, early evening in UK. They might be cooking dinner or whatever they're doing, but people like a kind of a show with a proper agenda where they can actually, get something from it, hopefully. And that's what we're going to try and share today. So, yeah, good point. So back to the agenda. So we're going to be looking at we're going to also, obviously this one is specifically about QUBIC Capital in the main, but obviously it's sitting on top of QUBIC. So we're going to have a quick overview of what QUBIC is, because there's going to be some newbies listening in. Then we're going to have a very brief look at the price charts. I mean, everybody's probably glancing at those, 50 times a day. I still am, and not because I'm worried about the price, but I just find it fun, to be honest, to be keeping a track on the price. Then we're going to have a look at the psychology of investing, just a brief chat around that. Then we're looking at the passive income on QUBIC. What is QUBIC Capital? Then we're going to take a delve into the calculations, because obviously people are here for for the exciting technology, but mainly for making a profit on their investment. So we'll have a look at that. We've got some new bullish news hot off the press as well that we're going to share today. We're also going to have a re-look at the holdings that QUBIC Capital holds. Also what's on the horizon, and then community questions. So we will hit our first slide. So QUBIC overview. Obviously everybody knows QUBIC. Now, it was really interesting, actually. There was a quote that came up the other day, and it was somebody asked on the Discord, they asked, can somebody explain what QUBIC is to me? That was their question. And then the founder of QUBIC, CFB, answered, it's a decentralized platform for AI. QUBIC runs even without an operating system, like Windows, for example. And I just thought to myself, right, okay, so this is what CFB sees it as. He's the founder. He's the genius behind the scenes. And I think... And also with regards to CFB, I recently did a Q&A with him. It wasn't live interview because he doesn't do interviews at all. So I was very lucky. I think I've got about over 40 questions. Some didn't get answered because they were from the community, and some of the questions were a little bit personal. But not personal in a bad way, but like, questions like, what was your school life like, and things like that. So some of those he didn't answer, but he answered a lot of questions, and we will be doing a stream on those. But I just thought it was really interesting, the theme that his main concern is, it's a decentralized platform for AI. So he knows that something's happening, and I do believe that there was something else that he posted as well recently, and that was about that the AI is coming alive soon. There was something that he posted on X, which I thought was really interesting. So QUBIC.
I've been actually watching a lot of streams about AI from Peter Diamandis. And he has a show that he has guests on there, and it's all they talk about. And it's very interesting to see how much money is going into this. They're going all in. It seems like it's America's only hope. But I also been watching videos about the other side of the argument, saying that all this AI stuff is a bunch of fluff. It's all a money grab. It's completely unsustainable. And the only way that this is going to work is if it's done truly decentralized, because nobody trusts Twitter. No one trusts Meta. No one trusts Google. No one trusts Sam Altman. So the only way that this is going to work if it's truly decentralized, and if it's done the right way, to where our kids can go on there and go get a virtual education from an AI teacher that, isn't woke or isn't brainwashing kids. And I think that's one thing he clearly gets that, because just the fact that he's in the Discord alone and we can go in there and have access to him or he'll respond. That's incredible to me, especially at the level he's at with the projects he's built. So his willingness to just be in the community is incredible. And he clearly sees the flaws in the AI chatbots and the garbage that's out right now. And I'm just so excited, man, to see what he builds.
I think that's a good point with regards to decentralized AI, and I think the more I see it and the more I look at the competitors of QUBIC, the more I think that AI is going to be so comfortable sat within this platform, because it's going to be more secure. It's obviously non-military as well, and it's not going to be open to government intervention either. And I think that's really, really important. And as you can see with a lot of other, and I'm not trying to get political here, but you can see with other platforms, whether it's Facebook or X or whatever, there's always, because they're centralized, there's always some potential takeover of that arena to influence people or do whatever, really. As I say, not getting political, but I think the fact that decentralized means that it's not going to be controlled by an entity is just going to be an absolutely fantastic thing. And like I say, some of the questions that I asked CFB just recently in the Q&A, he came back with some of those, talking about some of those with regards to AI, which is just such an insight. So yeah, great point there. So QUBIC, what is it? So yeah, it's a decentralized platform for AI, but alongside that, and probably the reason why these other things are made for it to be a platform for AI, all support the fact that it needs a very solid system for it to actually support something that is going to be more intelligent than humans. So it's the fastest blockchain, and this on its own is worth a lot of value, because it can actually be a currency. It's feeless, so transactions, instant finality, again, perfect for a great currency. It's a useful proof of work, computers and miners securing the project and creating a lot of excess power, and that is going to power the system for developing Agarth and the AI, decentralized AI. So the next up is AI Agarth. So that's a decentralized AI intervention, and I put in brackets there. CFB posted something recently hinting that it's coming alive very soon. So watch this space. And I think he it's like with a lot of the things that he promises, they always seem to come to fruition. When he was threatening that he was going to turn the power to mine other cryptocurrencies, people kind of laughed at him. Maybe not within QUBIC, but outside of QUBIC. And then, hey, we take over Monero. And when I say take over Monero, some people have used the word attack and stuff like that. I can't see that at all. Yeah, exactly. It's more, for me, it's a show of power, and also a way for a project to make extra funds to burn more tokens. But also at the same time, it's actually, by doing that activity, it's actually helped Monero and helped QUBIC by almost assisting in a security audit in real time, which has been absolutely fantastic. So, we carry on with the mining, and I believe they're going after Doge next, which is interesting. And it's great for marketing as well. Some people have said that it's not such a great thing for marketing, but I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be looking at this project now thinking, okay, so it's not an attack, but this guy's pretty smart and he can do this. And he's also threatening to bring AGI to life. So maybe this project's sounding pretty serious. Dex,
if you're a miner, right, you're worried about one thing, making money, right? Do you care what coin it is? If you're mining Monero, someone says, hey man, I can give you way more money and way more yield if you mine this other coin. You don't have to do anything. You got the equipment already. Why would you ever say no to that? It makes no sense. You're going to go where the money is. And I'm almost correct me if I'm wrong, but QUBIC's APY, you make more money than mining Monero. So the only people that were fudding this and saying it was an attack were criminals who were stealing power and stealing computer network to mine Monero. They would say like, there's a business across the country that has offices, an insurance company around the country. And at nighttime, no one's using their network. They hack in and they start mining a bunch of Monero and using their power. And they mined $3 million worth of it already illegally. So nobody that is here as a good person that's here to mine and make money is going to care if they mine Monero or they mine QUBIC. Whatever one's more profitable, you're going to go mine. And so anyone putting up the attack argument, you need to really look at that person or probably block them because they do not have good intentions or they're very misinformed.
And also, maybe we should change the word from attack to clean up, or two words rather, because it was almost for me, when I see things, I'm always trying to think outside the box, and I'm like thinking, was there another reason for choosing Monero? And and one of the reasons I was thinking was, was it somebody that's actually built something, that's seen something going down the pan or being abused, and actually going back to that project and actually saying, right, I'm going to clean this up a little bit. And I think there are so many aspects to the Monero mining and none of them seem to be attack from my perspective. It was not to destroy the Monero coin at all, because I think a lot of people think that a privacy token is good value. And I think there was a little bit of a dip on its price where I think a few people got spooked out, but I believe the price is kind of starting to head up again, which is good to see, to be fair. So we've got so what else is great about QUBIC? It's quorum based, so computer system, 676 computers, which makes it a very secure system. It's also scalable. So we've got smart contracts with the IPO model, and they are being built out, and some of them we'll be talking about shortly with regards to QUBIC Capital. It's open source and community driven. There are Oracle machines connect real world data to smart contracts. In fact, we've got a stream planned, hopefully, to discuss oracles and Oracle machines, because I think that at some point in the future, QUBIC could and probably will, once AI is developed and more people come on board. But I think that the Oracle aspect of it will even outgrow organizations like Chainlink and other big ones that are coming through. I just think that there's people and devs are gonna move everything over once they find a faster, better, secure, cheaper blockchain, which QUBIC is. And obviously it doesn't run on an operating system as well, so it just feels like the complete platform. And then obviously we have got the probably the most experienced founder with CFB, real name Sergi, and team, and it was funny actually, because one of the questions to CFB was something about him being the third person to mine Monero, and he refuted that. So I'm wondering, he's the third. I thought he was the third person. And it's almost common knowledge that he was the third person, but he refuted. He says, "I am not the third person to mine Monero." I was like, "All right, okay." Was he the second? Was he the first?
He's the founder. Like, so the founder of Monero is Nicholas von Saberhagen. That's the
Yeah,
alias. And I spent a couple hours going down the rabbit hole, and it's pretty much Nicholas von Saberhagen also founded Bytecoin too.
yeah.
So oh, he was
Do you know?
involved. So
Do you know
it's
something? I think I misspoke when I said Monero, but I was actually talking about Bitcoin.
oh yeah.
Yeah, because that was one of the questions. Were you the third person to mine Bitcoin?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I was
But
gonna say. Okay. Yeah.
but with Monero, I agree as well. I've not done a lot of deep dive on that, but I'm thinking Bitcoin, Monero, IOTA, NXT, QUBIC, and maybe there's other things that we don't know. Something else that was really quite interesting was, I think there was a question on who were the first people that you worked on with regards to QUBIC, and he gave a couple of people, a couple of names that were actually from IOTA that helped him with start off QUBIC. So I thought that was quite interesting. So he knows who can do really good jobs and do the work that is needed for his kind of idea, to bring his idea to life. So I thought that was quite good. But like you were saying, I think if we did a deep dive with Monero, I think his name is going to be all over that as well. So
it'll take you about an hour to be like, okay, he's Nicholas von Saberhagen. That's how long it took me. And then
well,
after
maybe
the next half hour, I was convinced.
Maybe that's going to be one of our shows, talking about that, because I think it's pretty interesting. We could maybe have a show just talking about the team, as we know. But there's so many people behind the scenes. When I was talking to Joe Tom, he gave the impression there was, I think, don't quote me on this because I did stream, but I can't quite remember. I'm sure he said about 80 people or something like that. But he said it's very hard to know how many, because a lot of them is just open source people, just like helping out on things, people that they know. And this is kind of like it's almost like the cypherpunk way of doing things, cypherpunk on steroids almost. And it's like, there's these people obviously got huge funds now, and I actually think that they are just having fun. I think Sergey is just having fun. I think he really is just, like us. I mean, obviously I'm more of an investor rather than a founder, although I did found a project, a tiny little thing. But I think he's just somebody that probably wakes up in the morning and he's like thinking, I'd like to do this and I'd like to do that. Is this possible? It's all kind of like, it's almost like if you see one of these old scientists that are just trying to discover something. Back in the days there was some brilliant ones like Tesla and people like that, the obvious ones, but they were like always dreaming up these ideas and trying to manifest their ideas, and actually some of them, like Tesla for example, he was having a lot of success until obviously he mixed it with the money men who kind of brought him down. But I think because crypto is and QUBIC is decentralized, there's and that came also with some of the CFB's some of CFB's answers as well was, don't ask me, it's a decentralized system kind of thing. And it's like, I was like, all right, okay, I get it. So even if there was no Sergey, QUBIC still continues, and there'll be loads of other people, and there are a lot of very intelligent people working on and within the system. So I think it's somebody who said something here. Somebody said Sergey is probably the richest man alive. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised, I wouldn't be surprised. CFB created the whole crypto space. Well, I wouldn't be surprised on that as well. Obviously, there's going to be like offshoots because there are a lot of other projects. It's like saying, the first person to discover to make the internet. Obviously, there's going to be other use cases and things like that, which, I love some of the other projects as well. So I'm not just a QUBICan. I'm also, I'm just like really bullish on the whole crypto space. Not every project, but I just think there's so many good projects out there. Right. So next up we have the price chart. So, you know, I'm a long-term investor. I know a lot of people are thinking, oh, bull run, bear run, bull run, and all this kind of stuff. But I think this is just my idea. I don't know. You might have a different idea than me, Vibra, but I am thinking that the next few years are going to be really about adoption. So I am not overly worried about charts. If, like, for example, if QUBIC, you know, did a 20x or something like that, it'd have to be a many x for me to actually take any profits off the table. But I am just thinking, you know, if there are certain numbers where if QUBIC comes down to those numbers, I am in again. So, and I'm kind of at that stage now. But if I was an investor now, I think you know, where it's kind of sitting is still pretty cheap. But you know, you do your own research. But there was something that I came across when I used to do investing, and some of the best investors, they would just find their project. They wouldn't worry too heavily about charts, but they would just find something that they thought was maybe undervalued or had a lot of potential, and then just get in anywhere. I mean, anywhere in the last year, even up on the highs to the left-hand side, is still probably not going to be a terrible place to get in, where some people got in and probably thinking, oh no, the price is a bit lower. But
I did. I bought.
Yeah.
I found it in late February 2024. So my goal was to somehow try to get to 1 billion coins, because it was almost $11,000 at that point. So
Yeah.
for me, that you have to look at it like that. This is a blessing. And people now are saying, man, that got in at the bottom. They're like, man, it's up almost 3x from where I got in. I caught it well under when it dropped that zero. And it's like, man, you got to look at it the opposite way, where it's down 70%. Well, down like 4x from here, from where I got in. So for me, this is still a huge discount, and you got to zoom out and look at stuff. That's why charts can be so deceiving. You know, you look at it from the bottom, you're like, oh man, I'm buying the top. But you zoom out, you realize there's still so much room to run. And I don't even have any liquid QUBIC. I have like 1,000 QUBIC left liquid. I staked my entire bag for a year, like 3 weeks ago. And it's 19% APY. It's like, you got to be kidding me. This project is not even going to have AGI for a year. So to not get a huge chunk of your bag for free just sitting around, you don't even need the price to go up.
100%. And same with me. Yeah, most of my stack is in QEarn, isn't it? And I think the APY or APR is about, I think it's about at least 10% for a year. So it's an absolute no-brainer. And if you've got a reasonable bag and you stake that for a year, you know, you get an extra 10% on top, which is great. Because I mean, by the time 1 year is up anyway, the price could be like shooting through the roof. But like I say, it's I still think when I look at this chart, I kind of think, you know, if you think like the first few years of Bitcoin or Ethereum or something like that, the first couple of years, and you see that the chart's just kind of sitting in these levels, and then suddenly things start to happen. You know, for example, I do think that once even more smart contracts come along, which they will, because there's so many people just chatting online. I want to build this, I want to build that. There's some coming through in the background. Joe Tom was telling me how many hit people were hitting him up constantly in the DMs, just basically asking about building stuff. So I think this is definitely the place to build, and also it's very attractive. If you are a builder and you are listening in, it's very attractive, because even though it's feelers to exchange tokens, so if I was sending tokens to Vibra, it's free, completely free, feelers, and very quick as well. But if you own a smart contract, you will be getting some fees on that smart contract. So every time somebody uses your smart contract, you will get fees for that, which it will be substantial once they start to be used, which I think some of these will be, and I'm quite excited about that. And then hence the reason why we're talking about QCAP today, because QCAP is probably one of the biggest passive income generators on QUBIC. So I think it's not the only one, because there's somebody hitting me up the other day saying, you don't just talk about QUBIC Capital, talk about other stuff as well, which obviously we will. But I think we're just bullish on this because, like, I'm quite invested in it, so I've got quite an interest in it, and I just keep looking at the figures and I'm like thinking, wow, some of these are absolutely blowing me away. So that's the QUBIC price chart anyway. Where's the next page on that? And then now we're just going to have a quick chit chat about the psychology of investing, because I think that quite easily links into the chart as well. And like the famous guy in front of us here, I think he's quite old now, he's still alive, but he's probably the best investor that has, I think, certainly in our lifetime. I mean, he's absolutely brilliant. Some people might like him, might not like him, but I think he just keeps it simple. I think probably behind the scenes, it's probably not as simple as some of the words that he's saying. But I think we, as a retail investor, I think, we could take some of those words and just apply it to our own kind of investing strategies. And I know it's not stocks, but it's the same kind of thing. This is going to be the next kind of revolution with and a lot of these cryptos will become like stocks, because they're going to be, and already they're kind of moving into that kind of world. Like Bitcoin's got ETFs and all sorts, Ethereum as well, and I would have thought there's going to be a lot to follow as well. So this first quote: someone is sitting in the shade of a tree today because someone planted a tree a long time ago. I mean, it's just kind of common sense, isn't it? I mean, if we turn it back to what's happening with QUBIC, we are just like a sapling tree, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be watering that tree and caring it, pruning it, and it's going to just take off on its own. It will just attract so many people to basically come and visit that tree, and it's just going to grow, and it's going to be absolutely massive. And then the next quote is, I think, one which a lot of people have heard millions of times, but it's just something that we should never forget. And it's so easy when charts are going the wrong way to start to think about selling, which I think is the most stupid thing. But he said here, be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. And I think like the way I see that is, don't worry too much when things are dipping, and when things are really ripping, you don't necessarily want to start buying then, because there's always going to be some kind of dip. But things like, for example, Bitcoin, it's not, it's still going to sit at that next level, even if there's a bear and loads of people sell it. I think there's always going to be a price for some of these tokens. So it's just like, the market at the moment, as soon as I see red, it's almost, I've changed my psychology. Don't know how you do it, Vibra, but I've changed my psychology to when I see red, it's like I'm going shopping in the sales. The red sale signs that you see in the stores. That's how I see it now. And when I first was investing, I used to be oh my God, the price has gone down. If I was trading or in some of these like little stocks, and the price went down, it would just be like, oh my God, it would be living with me for the whole day. But now I'm a very different beast. And I think it just takes a bit of retraining of your brain to try and look at it a different way. So when QUBIC price goes down, sometimes I'm even sitting there thinking, even though I've got a decent stack, I'm like thinking, if it goes down a bit more, then it hits my target, then I'm in again, to top up. And that's just the way that I'm doing it. How do you look at it, Vibra?
Yeah, I mean, so I was the same way like 5 years ago when I really started getting back in. where I had my bags that I knew were great projects, but I would wake up and then some altcoin I had on my watch list was pumping, so I would buy into it. And then the coin I sold out of or took, out of would pump, and the one I bought would dump. So it took me, honestly, what broke me out of it, it sounds crazy, but it's collecting Pokemon and Magic cards, the sealed boxes of them, because they had the huge bull market in 2021 like crypto, but the bear market for Pokemon started before crypto. So all the stuff that I was looking at, I wanted that was super expensive, it was now dirt cheap. No one wanted it. So I started buying it up in 2022, 2023, to 2024, and just putting it away in my closet, knowing like I'm going to buy this and it's not going to go up for years. Like this is a long-term play, and just buying stuff and putting it away and just not caring. Made me be able to just buy crypto bags and just put them away and forget about them and play the long-term game. If you're investing in blue chip, solid cryptos that are going to be around, that's the game I want to play. The short term is so dangerous. Very few traders. I know one or two people that actually trade and do really well. That's it. Out of 5 years, that's all I've met. So Richard Hart is so right when he says founders and hodlers win. And you just find good stuff early and you hold. And it's just the way it works.
Well, I'm very lucky actually in a weird way, because I'm in a tax area. I think I mentioned it to you before, but I'm in a tax area UK where it's 24% capital gains. So, which is also crypto to crypto. So, which means that if I'm just swapping even crypto and I've made gains on a particular crypto and I swap to another crypto, I still have to pay on tax on that swap. So it makes me think, it makes me slow down. So it actually helps me. And, we've already had internal family discussions of like, if things get to a really good level with regards to my portfolio, then potentially we will leave.
Yeah.
Simple as that. But I'm not at all. I think I think with a lot of these things I invest in, I think you've just got to kind of let go and just, have faith in what you've invested in. With regards to QUBIC, I've got huge faith on what I've invested in, and also you've got to be prepared that if everything went to pot, which obviously I don't think it will, but if everything went to pot and it went to zero, you've just got to be able to live with that. And so I've kind of, there's an element of psychologically letting go, making your investment, letting go. It's, as long as it's not money that you need for your grocery shopping or anything like that, or to pay your bills, then I think it's just a case of letting go, enjoying the ride, the ups and downs, the red, the green. It's always nice because when the price does go up, obviously I'm online and I go with it, and I start ranting and shouting and getting excited. But even when the price goes, even if we did a 2x tomorrow, I'm not selling. So I'm playing the long game. And everybody's got their own game. I'm not going to say making a 2x is not the right thing to do, because it depends on how much you've got in. If you're a smaller investor like me, I'm playing the long game, because I'm not about turning a few grand into doubling that. It's no point. I want to see this project develop to where I think it's going to get to. Same with a lot of my other projects as well. And leading us onto that is the QCAP situation, because QCAP is obviously built on QUBIC, and I think it's a fantastic example of how you can keep your investment but actually make money on that investment in a passive way, which is what I really like, because it kind of gives me security. So QCAP, what is QUBIC Capital? So QUBIC Capital is basically I bet PJ could describe this better than me, but it's basically a group of people It's going to be a smart contract that basically buys into smart contracts within the QUBIC only ecosystem. And as you can see from the graph in front, you've got Cubase, Random, Nostromo, MLM, QX, QVolt, MSVolt, 96,000 in the reserves, so which is quite good. QSwap, Quatari, and Cubase. So all of these protocols, these are the main ones that are out at the moment, and there's going to be more over time. There's going to be more, and then QUBIC Capital has a maximum of 21 million shares or tokens, and at the moment their circulating supply of tokens is 2.5 million. So what happens with these shares is these smart contracts, so these ones surrounding QUBIC Capital that you can see in this graph, what happens is they all collect fees. So every time they are used, they collect fees, and some of those fees go to the smart contract holders. QUBIC Capital owns quite a lot of those shares. So when fees do start ramping up and getting generated, those fees will then go into the QUBIC pot, and they will get distributed to QUBIC Capital shareholders on a weekly basis, which is pretty exciting, I think. Have you got anything to add to that? Is that explainer okay, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's basically a way, in my opinion, to get exposure to the rest of the ecosystem, to where some of these projects are unaffordable. You know, they're $10 billion QUBIC for a share. So if there's stuff that you really like and you can't get exposure to it, QUBIC Capital is that way. So for me, it's kind of reminds me not of what it does, but A1A on Pulse Chain, which Sonny built, where he paired his coin up with all of the PRC20. So if you didn't know, man, do I like Piave or P Compound, or do I want to get Uniswap, or do I like the Wrap Bitcoin? Well, that coin's paired up with all of them. So if a couple of them start to really take off, you kind of have exposure to them in a sense. So I kind of like stuff like this with QUBIC Capital. Just takes a lot of decisions out for me, where I can just go right here and now have exposure to future projects coming too that they're going to invest into.
Yeah, perfect. Well said. So this is just a graph just to show you how fees are generated. So here's a user. User pays fee to the smart contract, e.g. Random, then distributes those fees. And then those fees, some of them go to the dev team, and some of the fees go to the 676 shareholders. So remember, when there's an IPO for any of these smart contracts that launch on QUBIC, the very ingenious distribution is that there are 676 shares available to buy. And now the reason why people will go via QCAP and get QCAP shares or tokens is because they will get exposure to a lot more than they'll probably be able to buy individually, because the shares in a lot of these smart contracts are maybe, I don't know, between the equivalent of $500 to a few $1,000s each. So it makes a lot of sense to get exposure via QUBIC Capital as part of this big kind of organization group, shareholder group, than to buy little, whatever you can afford, like one or two shares here and there. You get a lot more exposure with QUBIC Capital. So that amount then goes to QUBIC Capital, and that gets distributed weekly to QCAP shareholder wallets. So I think it's each Wednesday, I'm holding QCAP. So each Wednesday, the fees that are due to me get slung straight into my wallet. At the moment, they are negligible, but it doesn't. For me, it doesn't really matter at all, because I know the system and I know how it's building. But we are going to talk about something, because I've got some news from one of the key devs in the system, and there is some news about QUBIC Capital is actually building their very own smart contract. Yeah, and we'll discuss that further on in this stream. So what we're going to do now is we're going to calculate the potential. So the way that QUBIC Capital works is without selling your original bag, you can make your investment work and basically be your own bank. So over time, you'll be, if you've got, say, like me, I've got like 8,000 QUBIC Capital. I will never have to sell those particular shares or tokens. So I keep hold of them tokens, and then they will generate me a weekly salary. And that's the plan. So I don't ever have to sell those. But however, if ever I do decide that I need a bit of, I need a really big, large amount of funds, one QCAP in the near, in the future could be worth a substantial amount of money. So I could say, all right, out of that 8,000, I'm going to sell 10 and buy myself a house or what have you, something really big. So there are so many options, but there is also the main option is to just hold, because I think over time, as long as you've got a decent amount now, and even though there has been a bit of I think there's been a bit of a dip in the price. If you look on QX, which is the exchange on QUBIC, you will see that there's been a bit of a dip in the price of QCAP, which is kind of understandable because I think there's been a bit of a dip in the QUBIC price as well. But what I'm going to do now is I've got this calculator, and I was telling Vibra before this meeting that often is the case for pretty much all of my crypto investing. What I try and do is I try and make a calculator and try and make an estimate of what I can earn. So I've done that for this, and it's not an exact science. So don't invest your life savings based upon this. Please, you always do your own research. But obviously, that, don't you? So I'm going to just click on that. I'm going to click on that. Okay. Hopefully you can see that. Can you see that, Vibra?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. So I've done it with the live, rather than cutting it, I've done it with the live one so that you guys can see what I've done. So just to take you through it. So this is, I've called it a QUBIC Capital calculator. Okay. So like I say, it's not financial advice on this, because this is just an estimate that I've done. So I know this is like a video that we're doing on QUBIC Capital, but I don't want anybody to think, oh, look, this is exactly what we can be earning. It's all guesswork. Okay. So what I've done here is I've put the smart contract, the name of the smart contract. So I've got QSwap, QX, Quattery, Random, LMM, MS-Volt, QVolt, Cubase, CPU. I need to take that one out. GP and GPU at the bottom. So ignore those two. In fact, I can take those out now, because then I can, hopefully that will, yeah, there we go. I've taken them out. But the funds that were in the CPU and GPU were added to these. So I'll make that adjustment at some time after this video. But just to let you know how it works. So QSwap, QUBIC Capital own 100 QSwap shares. I've put here estimated. This is obviously once things get going in the system, and there's a lot of activity and etc. So this is not about now. This is obviously looking forward. So I've put, once things do start ramping up, we get loads more devs, loads more activity on the chain, which we will, I'm sure. So it is a bit of guesswork. So I've got here amount generated weekly in dollars. So that's 100,000. So not a huge amount considering what QSwap is. Basically, QSwap is going to be like it's like the Uniswap of, but built on QUBIC. So it's going to be like that kind of thing. So it can generate, these kind of things can generate a lot of activity. So this is quite a a low estimate. So $100,000 per week. Then we've got, if you go, we take you across, we've got the medium is $250,000 a week, and we've put high $500,000 a week. But I think anybody that knows anything about Uniswap and how much they're generating, high could be way higher than this even. So we'll take it like that. And then what I've done is I've color coded it. So you've got here estimated low estimate, and this is, I've divided it by the 21 million shares. So this is if all QCAP shares have been allocated, and 21 million is the actual amount. I could have also worked this out at the 2.5 million shares in circulation, but I chose to do it this way just because this is further down the line, and I do believe that once people get sight on the passive income being earned, even if it's only like $20 a week and things like that, suddenly they're going to start buying more QCAP because they're going to be like, this is working. But obviously we're anticipating it working, and we're in early, so that's the difference. So yeah, we've got the calculation is so $100,000 per week divided by 21 million works out to be 0.0048 per share. Okay, then I've got here the medium amount. So this is 250,000 divided by 21 million shares. Whoops. And then I've done the same for high as well. So that's 500,000 divided by 21 million shares. And then I've based this on 8,000 QCAP. So these are my QCAP shares, and this, on the low estimate, this is what I would be earning per week. Okay, just on this one, this is the key thing. Just on this one smart contract, if it did $100,000 per week, this is what I would be earning. I would be earning $38.10 a week. Doesn't sound like a lot, but start adding it up. It starts to get quite tasty. And obviously, we've not just got one exposure to one of the smart contracts. We've got exposure already to most of the good smart contracts in the system. If you base that 8,000 on the medium, which is earning $250,000 a week, then suddenly it starts to look very, very interesting. And it looks, and it shows $95 per week. Okay, based on 8,000, and I think there's a lot of people in QCAP with a lot more than 8,000. Okay, and then obviously the high estimate is 190. Okay, now what I've done is, just to make this really simple, is I've done the same amount for every smart contract. So just so that we can see that, you know, once things start really ramping and taking off, and there's thousands upon thousands of people, loads of people using QUBIC, loads of people using these smart contracts, and there's reasons for the fact that some of them are going to take off. Okay, so some of them might go slow, but I think many of these are going to really start ramping up in a big way. Before I carry on, have you got anything to add on that, Vibra?
No, that was really well done. Honestly, it just shows you the multiple ways that you can earn, and that's what I'm all about, is passive income. So, and there's going to be more stuff coming too. So this list is going to keep growing and growing and growing.
Exactly, and this list that I've got here, I'm going to reveal later that I've just found out today that we've actually increased on this amount as well, which is fantastic. But like I say, this is a machine to make passive income into the future. Are we right? I don't know. Nobody knows at the moment. But I think there's a good chance that QUBIC is going to develop and grow, and I think as that happens, these will be used. So I am anticipating there's going to be a lot of users on QUBIC, and those users will need some of these things, okay, or want to be involved in some of these things, okay. So the low estimate, I've done another calculation here just to give you an idea of some of these calculations. So based on a smallish amount of QCAP tokens, we've got the low estimate, which I show as a weekly, $304 a week, as a monthly, $1,300 a month, and yearly $15,000. So not exactly retirement money, but it would be a very nice amount of QUBIC coming into your wallet on a monthly and a weekly, monthly, and yearly basis. Then we're looking at the medium amount. Now the medium is quite interesting. When I saw these, I was like, right, okay, because this is still quite a low estimate, in my opinion, for what some of these smart contracts will end up doing. Total weekly $761, monthly $3,301, and yearly $39,619. Now it's not an absolute fortune, but you could live off that. So, and remember, you won't need to sell any of your QUBIC Capital tokens, so you keep those, and they will be also growing in value as well. Because trust me, soon as even when the weekly amount gets to like $304, out of based on 8,000 tokens, people are going to start rushing in when they're seeing that it's working. This is I don't know the percentages. Maybe I need to work the percentages out, but a percentage is going to start looking very tasty. And this is really good passive income. Now I've done some LP providing, but LP providing is okay if you know what you're doing. I kind of know what I'm doing, but at the same time, it's still got its risk attached. Whereas the thing that I like about QUBIC Capital is it almost removes the risk. So your tokens will not be harmed. Your QUBIC Capital tokens will not be harmed. Okay, and obviously QUBIC Capital price could tank, so that there is a little bit of a risk, but you're always going to keep those tokens. So I anticipate that this is going to be something which is going to be a really good potential earner for me. And then you look at the high estimate as well, which is, like I've already explained, high estimate is high for where we are now, but in the peak of a system that has got AGI, that has got thousands upon thousands, probably millions of developers coming on board to exploit the AGI, I think this is a very conservative estimate. So we've got total weekly 1,500, total monthly 6,000, and total yearly 79,000, which is easily livable for many people. And you can just sit back and collect your QUBIC. You might even not want to sell it, or you might just want to stack up your QUBIC to really gain a serious amount of QUBIC tokens. But it's just a really good way of having exposure to a lot of these protocols. I'm just wondering if I want to do the other one now. Shall I do the other calculator now?
Yeah, you might as well.
Okay, while I'm on the screen, right? So I have. Okay, so I received some news from the QUBIC Capital leads that there is a new project. Now, I've been given an estimate of how much QUBIC will be generated on a weekly basis, and I've been given a low estimate of 500 million QUBIC and a high estimate of 2 billion. So I don't know what the project is. I've asked several people, and it's a closely guarded secret at the moment. But I think it's going to be released in 4 to 8 weeks, should we say, conservatively. Now, I've done some calculations on this, and at this current time, I'm pretty bullish on it, because I know, I mean, you might laugh because your eyes will probably scan to these, but let me take you through it, and then you can kind of assess what you think, because I am thinking this is just going to be, while I am kind of stacking my QCAP and QUBIC and everything else that I've got, this is just going to be trickling extra tokens into my wallet. And while QUBIC is at a very low price at the moment, you know, that's going to start stacking up over time, and that's going to be quite a nice and generate me, you know, quite a few more tokens, which is what I want. And I think what everybody wants at the moment, it's not about selling, it's about trying to, you know, get your position. So what I've done here, so project name, we don't know what the project name is yet. The current circulating supply is 2.5 million. So that's the tokens that are out there at the moment. So because this project is coming into action very, very soon, I have done an estimate based on what the current supply is. And unless somebody came in and bought, like, you know, I don't know, maybe they will after watching this, but if somebody came in and bought like another, you know, a few million, then that would change. But at the moment, it's looking like we are kind of, it's smaller investors that QUBIC Capital seems to be attracting at the moment, which is fine, because that's what most of us are that get in these projects early. At some point, we won't be small investors, we will be large investors. So anyway, I've put the weekly QUBIC here, which I've been given as a lowish estimate, is 500 million. And then I've got here, I've got 2 billion, which is like the higher estimate of the two. And then I've got my QCAP holdings 8,000, and then I've worked out here. So this is what's this one? So this is this figure. So this figure here. Oh no, it's this figure. Sorry. So I've done the calculation is the weekly QUBIC. So this is weekly, right? So which is great. So this is weekly QUBIC 500 million. Divided by the total supply, 2.5 million, and then times by 8,000, which is my holding. Okay, and that gives us 1.6 million QUBIC per week. Okay, so when you look at distributing with that, hopefully I've done this right. So I've done, and then I've done this amount here. Okay, yeah, this amount here times the current price of QUBIC, okay, which is $3.70. So even though it doesn't sound like a lot, that is the low estimate, and I've only got a smallish amount of holdings in QCAP, but that dripping into my account each week in QUBIC is going to start slowly building my bag. It's not going to give me, you know, loads of QUBIC, but it's not too bad. But then if you look at the higher estimate, and this is how the QUBIC Capital project works, and this is just going to be a real-time example when this project gets released of how easy it's going to start generating us some funds. So on 2 billion, it gives out 6.4 million. And I've worked that out to be, based on my holdings, to be $14.80 per week, which, you know, it's small, but this is just the start of one project. But I think this one's really bullish, you know, and I think if there's people out there that's got, you know, a reasonable amount of funds, QUBIC Capital might be a way of kind of, you know, rotating some funds into it to try and generate some of those weekly profits. Obviously, there's no guarantees. Even though I was given an estimate of 500 million to 2 billion, there's never guarantees in cryptos or in investing. So that could easily also be 0 per week. But I just thought this was interesting. This new project coming along the line. The devs are very confident, and yeah, it's going to be I think it's going to be really exciting, and it's going to definitely drive a lot more people into the project. So that one is the calculator. Let me get it back on. You got anything to say on that one, Vibra?
No, I'm good. Nope.
Okay, right, fantastic. We got loads of people coming in. Thank you very much for viewing. Loads of live viewers as usual. which is just what we want. And hopefully, you know, over time, we're anticipating that we're going to be probably getting several thousand, especially as the project starts ramping up. You know, the whole QUBIC project. So we're just gonna, because I know that there's going to be a lot of newbies in here. We did go through these on the last stream, but we're just going to go through them again quickly, because these are the projects that QUBIC Capital are holding. So we'll go through these, and if you've got anything to say on any of these, Vibra, just give me a shout. And hold on, let's see if there's any questions first of all. I've got loads of comments here. We can start. Oh yes, good point. 80 Nostromo missed. Okay, I will amend that. Thank you very much to Luke. Josh, thanks for coming, Josh. Where to buy QCap? Okay, so the best place to buy QCap at the moment is on QX. QX, I'm pretty sure I saw today QCap shares were going particularly cheap. I think I saw 270,000 per 270,000 QUBIC for one QCap share at the moment, which is really cheap because they were previously being sold for 320,000 per share per token. So yeah, now is really a good time to get in. But yeah, go on QX, Hunter, and you can have a look there. Hit me up if you can't find it. QX is the basic where you can buy a lot of these ecosystem tokens. Jumping on the relay. Good afternoon from California. Seamer, so why not just buy QUBIC? Probably appreciate quicker than the derivatives of it. It's not really a derivative of it, so I'm not really defending or not that comment. I mean, if it's your choice, Mercer, to decide what you want to do. I mean, maybe the best option is to buy just QUBIC and, you know, wait for it to skyrocket and then do what you need to do. I just like it because at the moment, you see, the thing is with QUBIC Capital is I don't need to sell the QUBIC Capital. So once the system starts delivering me passive income, I'm still holding those tokens, whereby I think, you know, the old-fashioned way of doing it is buying a token, waiting for it to go skyrocket, and then selling out. But then what do you do? Unless you've made several million, what then do you do? Do you then go and buy it back in more expensive? Or whereas with QUBIC Capital, I am actually just sitting, waiting, watching, enjoying the action, and then over time, hopefully, the passive income will come through. But as you've seen from that previous calculator, I think there's going to be some passive income coming, you know, quite shortly, which is going to be really good. But good question, thanks. Keep the questions coming, guys. Really appreciate it. So Quattery, this is the decentralized betting exchange on QUBIC. I've learned something recently, actually, from this, which is really quite interesting. I'm bullish on this. I know it's not doing much at the moment. 100% of the fees associated with creating bets, potential for lottery feature to be added. I think this one is really going to be developed. I like it. I like a bet. I like a gamble. Not a stupid thing, but like, you know, like on a sports event or something like that. I think this is going to be a really nice, a nice feature to have. It'd be a bit of fun. You know, who's going to win the World Cup? You know, who's going to win a sports event in the US or Canada or wherever you're based? I think it could be really good. 100% of the fees and 10% of the winning pot go to the shareholders, which is absolutely massive. So when this one does start generating income, I think it's just going to be crazy. And QCap holdings are 122 out of 676, which make it the top holder. And there's a raw calculation here. If Quattery generated 50 million, each of the 676 shares would yield $74,000, which equals 9 million. So I think, you know, when I look at a lot of stuff like that, I look at kind of real world stuff that's happening now. Like you only need to look at the amount of money that's being generated from like the UK lottery, for example, which is you know, which is huge here, and like a high percent. I think I can't remember. There was something that I looked at before. I think it was about 50% of UK adults play the national lottery in UK. I mean, it's staggering, the amount of people that will do it. And I think with this Quattery, I think once it starts to gather a momentum, and if there is like a lottery feature added, etc., I think it could really generate some huge funds. Could be the biggest one in the whole system, or at least one of the biggest ones. And being exposed to that via Cubic Capital makes it a real high potential. So we have to do yeah, I think we have to do some real life bets on this to get things started. I can't wait for this one to start being developed in a better way, so that we can actually use it a lot more easy, but maybe a better UI and all the rest of it. What else? What was I going to say about this? Yes, it will be used possibly in the casino inside the MLM game, and that was something that PJ said on the last stream, which I thought was really interesting. That MLM game, we're going to talk about that in a moment, but that's like a real life survival game where you can like buy real world assets inside the game, which I think is quite exciting. So yeah, it can be used, and there's going to be a casino inside the MLM game. I didn't know there was going to be a casino, but
no way.
Yeah, so that's going to be really I think it's going to be fun. You know, it's almost going to like mix real life for kind of crypto life, and kind of like, hold on a minute, I'm actually making thousands of dollars on this item and stuff like that. It's going to be, you know, real world assets. I think there was a while back, there was something that I thought they were going to try and do something like that, like allow people to build stuff that weren't actually real, but were kind of inside a game. But I think this one's really going to take place. And I think one of our questions from CFB was how long, you know, what's going on with the MLM game. And I think he made it quite clear that work is happening now on it, so it's going to be really good. So with Quattery, Cubic Capital have taken over the dev position apparently, and which means that they are going to be able to generate more fees for the shareholders. And obviously, being one of the biggest shareholders, QCAP is going to benefit massively from that. So QCAP apparently have control over the decisions, which is a great position to be in. Next up, QX. We all know QX, and I've just told our friend Mercer, QX, you can buy QX on Cubic Capital on QX. So I went on QX today. It's a really nice platform actually, and you link your wallet up to it. So you link your Cubic wallet up to it, and then you can swap and trade and all the rest of it. I've actually not used it at all at the moment. I've not needed to, but I'm starting to look at it and thinking, oh yeah, I really need to get on there, especially when certain prices are dipping, and I'm like thinking, wait, I could get some pretty cheap tokens here. That would be quite good in some of these other projects.
And the one thing that I just wanted to say to C. Mercer about why not just buy Cubic. So the thing that's cool about it is with the QX exchange, say you go and you buy QCAP shares and you spend, I don't know, 100 million Cubic buying 300 of them or whatever it is. Well, in a month, say you kind of really regretted it, you can just swap and sell those back for Cubic. So it's not like you're stuck with them once you buy it and you can't get back out. You can just sell them right back on the market. And I mean, sometimes they could be worth more, sometimes it could be worth less, but you can always get back out into your liquid QUBIC. So it's not like you're stuck with them.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Another one on the back of that is MoFo. Having liquid QUBIC means your money isn't working for you. So why wouldn't you put it in QEarn or QCAP? Question mark. That's called making your money work for you instead of sitting stagnant. That's a really good point. I mean, I'm a kind of a I like to spread my load in some ways, and so I've got some in QEarn, I've got some just raw tokens, and I've also got QCAP as well. I wish I had more of all three, but it is what it is. You know, we could always do with more. But yeah, it's a really good point. QEarn as well is a fantastic project, and it's basically staking your QUBIC. And I think if you stake for a year, I think the current amount is looking like about 10%, which is pretty good. You know, 10% free tokens is brilliant. And then QCAP, obviously, that's what we're talking about at the moment, so it's really good. What else has he said here, Mofo? Who do you think got PJ into QCAP? I said something above. Where is it? Yeah, I mean, possibly you, was it? I'm not sure. But I think PJ's got a lot of people in. And this is the great thing about crypto, you know, when you've kind of made friends that are not shillers, are really, this is how I got to know Vibra. You know, I followed him, and then he was like kind of saying really, I could tell he was just saying smart things, and a lot of the things, you know, weren't necessarily things that other people were like agreeing with and things like that. And some tokens that he liked were kind of like tokens where other people were going, oh, this is rubbish and blah blah blah. And then suddenly a few weeks later the price starts spiking on some of the ones that he suggested. And I'm, like I say, I follow people that are kind of like, you know, keeping it real, and I think that are really good investors. And I think you know, like Mofo is a good guy. Obviously PJ, Vibra, you know, I kind of surround myself with people that are just tell me how it is, not trying to shill me or anything like that. And then often hitting people up, asking questions and things like that. And if anybody's got any questions for me, you know, hit me up in the chat, no problem. I'm not an expert, you know, so just always do your own research, but you know, always good to like link up and chat and ask questions about stuff. QX, so QX is the decentralized exchange on QUBIC. It's brilliant. It's 0.5% fee on every trade, like every transaction, which is going to generate so much money. Only 21 out of 676 held by QCAP. I think actually they might have got a couple more, but I'll look. I've written that down somewhere. So if QX were to reach a trading volume of 7 billion annually, for comparison, Uniswap has a daily trading volume of 1 billion. So you know, you've got to think ahead. We don't have to, but that's how I kind of do my investments. I'm trying to think ahead, and I'm trying to think, you know, this crypto space is new. You know, Uniswap is an old beast now, and there's going to be new players in the market that are going to be, you know, moving on in. So each share would generate $400,000. Times that by 21 equals 8.4 million divided by the community. So these figures that, you know, we're potentially looking at here, and I say potentially, but you know, you've got to take, you know, if you come into QCAP when this has actually happened, then QCAP is going to be thousands of dollars to get in, to get a decent bag, whereas now you can get in you know, a reasonable price. So this smart contract is an internal swapping for internal swapping inside the QUBIC ecosystem. All additional projects will include QX in their project because it's in their interest. So it's like it's basically, it's almost like a monopoly on trades within the QUBIC ecosystem, and I think I can't see that changing. So another great one to hold. So what I'm doing, guys, is that, you know, I'm just giving you a very easy overview of why some of these are really, really good smart contracts. Even though at the moment you're not really hearing much about them because they're not generating much activity at the moment. Random. I believe Random is one of the, I think CFB has got a few tokens that he holds, and I think he holds Random. I think he's got quite a few. I'm not sure about that, but I'm sure somebody said that he has. But I know one thing, that Random is going to be a tool that needs to be used for anything casino, Agarth, or AI related. So it will be well used. And I know that I used a similar tool in Chainlink. You know, Chainlink, the big blue chip company, they've got a similar kind of tool. You know, if you need to, I don't know, select random wallets, random numbers, blah blah blah, this is going to be your tool. QCAP, so 50% of fees to the smart contract holders, massive. You know, I don't even know how to work out how much something like this will be worth in the future, but if it's used, it's going to be massive. QCAP 66 out of 676, top second holder. Anything related to casino, gambling, AI, or needing a randomized feature will use this smart contract. So I think it's an absolute no-brainer that it's going to be used in a big way. Just going to skim over the next few. So we've got QUBIC, which is an NFT marketplace. We discussed this in a bit of detail last session. So 1% of fees to shareholders, 93 out of 676 shares hold. And I think even though NFTs gained a bit of a bad reputation in the last bull run because they were merely JPEGs, I think this time around, I think it's going to be a bit different because they are actually able to hold some value. And if they're backed by real world assets and are limited, I think it's going to be a different story. So it won't just be like trading a JPEG. So kind of bullish on that, but I don't really know about that. I'm actually trying currently to speak to a lot of these devs that are part of these leads in some of these smart contracts. I want to try and get them on. And this is one that I've been trying to get these guys on as well, Nostromo, because I think this one's going to unleash a whole load of new projects within the system. I think once people get the idea of how to use it, I think that's when it's going to really take off. So it relies on investors, and then the investors then decide on what gets built. So I think that's just to simplify it. So investors come in with funds and buy into these IDOs, and then developers come in with their projects, and then the investors decide which projects get built, and then the ones that get built will probably be pretty good because they're the ones that the investors believe that is going to be making them money. So it's kind of a two-way partnership, really. I like it. I just want to see it in action. And again, it's another project that just needs to see. We just need to see activity, but it's new. So I believe in this one. I think it's really got a good chance of doing really well. What else have I got to say on this one? Yeah, I just think there's going to be a lot of new devs coming on board with this one. Next one. So this is going to be a biggie. So this is project in development at the moment. And I know there's a lot of chat on the Discord. You know what I love about the Discord, Vibra? I don't know if you're on the Discord much, but I tell you what I love about it. It's so open. You know, whether there's a little ding dong, whether there's a little argument, or whether it's positive, negative, or whatever, it's just out in the open. You know, it's not cloak and dagger. Everybody just says it how it is. Most of the time, it's things are said in the right manner, and I think it's monitored really well. I would actually advise anybody that's listening, just a side thing, just to get on the Discord. Not just the QUBIC Capital one, but the QUBIC one as well. There's two. If you need access to those, I can send you the links. But once you get stuck into them, there's just so much. You can see the activity rising, and the people rising as well. In fact, I think both channels, since our last stream, both of them arose. I'm not saying they're down to us, but I'm just saying it's, you know, we are kind of pushing the Discord, because I think it's really good to get, you know, engagement, real engagement. So QSwap, I'm telling you now, is going to be massive when it's built, because it's the decentralized Uniswap on QUBIC. It's huge. Shareholders are going to get 16%. Okay, I mean, that is going to be, it's just going to be ridiculous. QCAP Holdings is 100 out of 676. And just comparing it to Uniswap, you know, Uniswap's top 20 coin in crypto. And I think QUBIC will be a disruptor to the whole crypto space. And users will flock to QUBIC and use QUBIC products. So once devs start to see that they need QUBIC, I think that's when it starts to get absolutely crazy. And that it might start with the AGI. It might start when, you know, when Anna comes to life, the AI agent comes to life and starts to actually making ChatGPT looking like Google, which it basically is, really, isn't it? But I think that's when things are going to get really interesting, because I think then suddenly the devs come over, because there's no point, if you're a dev, there is actually no point in building a project that is going to be outdated in like 5 months. I think the best way would be to just start your projects you know, as soon as you can on QUBIC. That would be my advice. I mean, knowing what I know about crypto, there's some good stuff being built and some good real world kind of collaborations. But I do think that, you know, if I was building now, I don't think I would look at external, because you want to be in the freshest, newest, best, the most secure place to build. And I think QUBIC is definitely right up there. So yeah, this project's in development, and I think yeah, I think it's going to be mad. Okay, so QVault, the smart contract for QUBIC Capital assets. And I know PJ is really bullish about this one. He gave a bit of a chat about this one on the last time in. 3% of QUBIC cap revenues, massive potential. QCAP Holdings 244 out of 676. And QVault's going to be used for fundraising, buying assets, IPO, everything decentralized but voted for by QUBIC cap holders. And an audit on this is underway, which I think is great. I think audits are so important, but I think for something so important, for a project so important, I think it's great. And remember, all the fees that go through QVault are divided by only 676, which makes it very, very viable. MS Vault multi-sig smart contract, 244 out of 676, makes it the top holder. MS Vault is a multi-sig smart contract that allows users to securely store QUBIC tokens in a shared vault. And I just think the sharing aspect of this and the security aspect of it, i.e. multiple owners, it just opens up so many things. I was trying to think today actually what it could be used for, but I just think having a shared vault, it could have many purposes for business and retail alike. So another very good one. My last match, this is CFB's game. So he's heavily invested, not financially, I don't mean, but heavily invested as in like this is one of his babies. I just think this is going to be brilliant. So it's a real world asset survival game based in 1990s dystopian Europe, I think, which I just think is just going to be crazy. It's just going to be crazy. I actually own some items because I started to see the vision, and I think this is the thing. at this point in time, seeing the vision early is where it's all at. And I've got a lot of faith in CFB to try and bring it into action. So, and the in-game fees and from in-game assets. Now, I only just realized this today. So 50% to the asset owner. So I own items within this game. And when anybody needs to borrow them items, they will pay me. I don't actually know how much yet, but it's going to rise obviously over time when people are desperate for a safe house or whatever. I think I've got a speedboat and a dog and a little house and stuff like that. But 50%. So when somebody's trying to escape and survive, they come into my house and they pay me. And 50% of that goes to me. So, for example, I don't know how much it would be. Like, say, for example, the equivalent in QUBIC of, I don't know, say $500. So 250 to me, and then 250 equivalent to the shareholders. QCAP's got 35 out of 676, but it's got many in-game holdings as well, which I think is pretty smart. Created by the founder, CFB. So I call it an investment game. It's a survival investment game. Will combine strategic survival instincts and community interactions into a captivating gameplay experience. Smart contract holders make money via resurrection fees, customization services, and in-game fees due to player making a transaction. And CFB has actually physically told me we are working on level design now. Don't know what that means, but I think it means that, you know, work is underway and there is a team on it, which is really, really good. So this is number 10 is just showing dollar signs. So we've got we did have $96,000 in reserves. And I believe, and this is hot off the press, I believe they have made some recent purchases. So they've got 5 QX, which we've already discussed, 22 Quattery, 3 random, 3 MLM, and 1 Q swap. So these are just like, over time, the aim of it is for QUBIC Capital is to build as many shares as possible, which will give maximum benefit for when everything starts to take off. So that's my run through on a lot of the projects, Vibra. I just, you know, the more I kind of delve into them and I just see the potential, you know, when I'm looking at my calculator and stuff like that, I just think all we're waiting on really is 2 things: loads more development, which is coming, and then the people using those products. And it kind of sounds easier than, you know, it's not easy to create that. You know, it's taken some organizations, you know, a considerable amount of time to build up their kind of devs and that kind of thing, and then the users as well. But I think those 2 things, when those 2 things come onto QUBIC, I think everything's just gonna absolutely take off. And I think if you're holding the position, it's just a time. It's just a case of hodling, chilling out, enjoying what's going on, enjoying the things, getting involved where you can. And I think it will be a great investment, hopefully.
Yeah, 100%. And you got to be early. You have to feel uncomfortable buying stuff. Like if you're looking at something and you feel super excited, oh man, the chart's pumping, it's not the time to be buying. You need to be buying stuff when it's like, man, is this really the right buy? No one's talking about this. Is this project going in? When you're second guessing stuff because the chart doesn't look good, no one's talking about it, that's opportunity.
Yeah, and that's interesting you say that, because I know I've been following you for quite some time, as you know, and you know, I sometimes hit Viber up and go, "What's new? What am I looking? What do I need to look at now?" You know, just hitting him up occasionally with questions like that. And I think that's the key, really. It's just kind of crystal balling it and just seeing what, you know, like, for example, if you like QUBIC or you like QUBIC Capital, you know, do you think it's a good investment? Is it going to give you a good return in the timeline that you want? And I've not really got any particular timeline. Obviously, I'm hoping, you know, I'm kind of in the back of my mind, I'm thinking for QUBIC, and I'm thinking for QUBIC Capital, I'm thinking 2 or 3 years, maybe 5. Not overly rushed, but I'm patient, and I think that's the key. Patience is really a virtue with this kind of thing. And I like with Viber, I've seen him holding some investments. Like I say, like he's already said, not doing much, and then suddenly, he gets online and he says, "Told you about this one." When the price starts spiking, and I'm like, "Yep, I've kind of," and some people are listening, and when I kind of do my research and go off and try and see, right, do I like that project? Do I think it's got a lot of upside? I then take my market cap calculator and I start putting figures into it and seeing if it's better than that other project that I really like. I've still got a little list, but for me at the moment, with all genuineness, I'm trying to increase my bag of QUBIC, QUBIC Capital, and if I can snag some of these smart contract shares as well, I just think getting in with some of those is going to just literally be, quite valuable assets in the future, which is what I want to do. So what's new? So on the horizon, there is Voton Bridge, which I've put here liquidity, and I'm starting to get a bit of a picture of what it is and why it's going to be valuable to QUBIC. So I think that QUBIC Capital might be buying some of these shares. I'm not sure, but if they put a vote out, which is great. That's the great thing about QUBIC Capital is we get, if you hold enough shares, you get to vote on it as well. So I will vote yes on this. Don't know how much I want to put in yet, but I would definitely vote for Voton Bridge because it's a bridge between EVM and QUBIC. So I just think the first thing that I heard when I saw that was just liquidity, just opening up another door, another avenue for liquidity to come in and maybe exposure for QUBIC, and also entrance and exit to tokens as well. So if things do go absolutely wild when the bull run comes and people are like, "Oh, I want to take some profits," they can actually swap out to they can swap out to wrapped QUBIC, which I think will be really, really helpful. So there won't be any log jams when it comes to kind of exiting and entry and exit, which I think is really good. What else? The new QCAP project that I've already spoken about, where I did my little calculator presentation. 500 to 200 billion QUBIC per week. I think is just going to transform QCAP. And at the current price, the QCAP price is quite low. I think it's 270,000 QUBIC per QCAP token. So I think that's really cheap, and I think that will spike the price because it's a bit of a no-brainer. If you've got actual real income that can be generated, I think people are going to come, and I think there might even be some big players come in as well, to be honest with you, that snag like big amounts of it. And then the recent purchases, 5QX, 22 Quattery, 3 Random, 3 MLM, and 1 QSwap. And I think it's just growing our bag all the time, and just getting into a really, really fantastic position. And then if there are any questions, I don't know if there are many questions. Hey, there's a good question just arrived right now, and all of you guys. Now this is Method Yoga. It's a really good question. The current revenue and payout is small at the moment. There are ways of working it out, but it's almost negligible at the moment. So this is where the kind of your own particular assessment comes in. you have to take a look at yourself, deep dive in, and have a look and go, well, right, okay, is this really value? I think the way that I look at QCAP is not about the now. It's almost like a token that you kind of are going to hold anyway, but then it's also going to give you some weekly sort of airdrops or what have you. So it's not gonna it's probably gonna hold its value, I would have thought. I mean, even though the price has dipped a little bit, but I think it's gonna just, because it's generating the weeklies, once those other things happen, then yoga is going to be maybe out of your league to get in, to get a decent bag. And this is what Vibra was talking about earlier, about getting in early. So I think at the moment it's kind of negligible. I think there's a bit of a joke on the Discord, that there's it's peanut day on a Wednesday. It's that peanut day, but I do think another good question. Yeah, paid in QUBIC. So weekly payments are in QUBIC. So over time, I think it's going to be something that's going to just be dropping value into your wallet, straight into your wallet, which is going to be really, really good. But like I say, look into it a bit more. What is the price per share? He's coming at me with the questions today. What is the price per share? Okay, the price per share at the minute, I think, is 270,000 QUBIC per QCAP share. I think at the moment, if you look on QX, it might even be a little bit less than that. Now, I think it was only a couple of weeks back that Wolf, who leads it up, was auctioning off QCAP for 320,000 QUBIC per share. So now is really a good time. Hold on, what else? So yeah, hold on, let's have a look. Mofo's come up. So Mofo said last QCAP sale over 50% sold in 24 hours. So the bigger investors do have eyes on QCAP. Yeah, well, this is it. You see, I think it really is one of those that's kind of like it's almost like a chain. 284,000 per Q. So the price is rising. Deluxe just said 284,000 per QCAP now, and I'm sure I saw it earlier. At least I think it was 270, something like that. So it's one of those things where you've got to make your own assessment and get in at the right time. But you can definitely get more QCAP tokens now than what you could like 2 weeks ago. Which is kind of the same for QUBIC as well, to be honest. Prices go up, prices go down, don't they? But let's just say that once you've got your bag, you just sit down, you just watch it run, and then just and the great thing about the Discord as well is having a look at the work going on in the back of the system. So yeah. Method wants to buy. Okay, yeah, sure. You can go on to QX, go and have a look. If you're struggling to get on it, I think you can just type in on any search engine. Oh, there we go. Look, he's put it here. Vibra's. Thanks, Vibra. So there we go. Is that the direct link?
Yeah, it brings you right to the DApp where you got to log in, connect your wallet, and that if you just go to assets there, it'll show all like 20 of them that you can buy, from QCAP to MLM to QVault to all the meme coins. Everything's there.
And this is another point to what I was saying about the point that I was saying about QX is, so if we turn back and just have a quick look back at QX, let's have a look if I can get back to QX. Where's QX? You see, this is kind of like happening in real time almost. That's QSwap. This is happening in real time where people are actually going on there to buy stuff. Hi John, how you doing? So yeah, QX, for example, Method, when you go on later to buy, if you do, every fee, there's a 0.5% fee on every trade. which goes to the shareholders and the devs. So it's going to generate a lot of money, and this is just very, very low level at the moment. But yeah, it's so where is the price break? I have a few billion lying around. Well, okay, well, now's your time if you have a few billion laying around. Wow, I wish I had a few billion laying around. That would be really nice. But yeah, I don't know if you're playing or not, Method, but yeah, do your own research. And if you've got a few billion laying around, then I'm sure that you can afford to invest in some. How many total shares? He's coming out with some good questions. You missed a lot of these, but never mind. We'll go over it again. So there's going to be 21 million shares capped. Yeah. And at the moment, there's 2.5 million only that are released in circulation. So yeah, take a look at it, and I actually do think that it's going to be a very positive project over time. Well, it's positive now because I'm just part of the building process.
Everything on there is limit orders, bro. They've been getting DDoS attacked, so the order book doesn't really work that good. You can't see the older transactions, but you'll see the buy and sell orders that are on there right now. So if you want to buy one, you got to go and look at the sell orders, and then you just go in there and create a buy order for the cheapest one that's on there. So it's for everything. You can see how many shares of all the different coins and projects are there on the sell orders, and then you can see the buy orders people have in that they're willing to pay, that are never going to get filled, most of them.
Yeah. So IPO's upcoming. So there's Voton, which I've just said that I'm quite bullish on. If we look at the numbers on the Discord, I think this is quite interesting, because on the last stream there was 948, and there are 980 now on the QCAP Discord. So if you want to go in the Discord, it's a good place to kind of ask questions and stuff. Are you over there, Method? You're asking quite a few questions. It'd be good to see you over there. Actually, there's a lot of more kind of knowledgeable people within the system than me. So head over there in the Discord. I can send you a link if you hit me up later. And if we look on the actual QUBIC Discord, we can see that last time it was 59,534 members on the main QUBIC channel, and there's now 60,314. So you can actually see real-time build in action, which is brilliant. Just to let you guys know the X profiles for me and Vibra. So mine is Revo Communities, and Vibra is Vibra Finance. And then also, if you go to the X, which is the main QUBIC X, is _QUBIC_, which has got some brilliant stuff on, some great marketing going on nowadays. And then look at the QUBIC Capital X account is at QUBIC_capital. And the official QUBIC website is QUBIC.org. And QUBIC Capital website, I think, is under development. But I think anything you need to find is all on the Discord. So, guys, I really appreciate everybody coming in. Is there anything you'd like to add, Vibra, to the thing? I've ranted on a little bit because I just wanted to reaffirm all the brilliant kind of projects that QUBIC Capital are invested in. I just think it's really important for especially newbies coming in, where they see the potential. Anything to add?
No, you did a good job going through everything. The only thing I would really say is I get people that, because of the DDoS attacking and stuff right now, a lot of the explorers and the websites aren't really working. So if you go and you staked your QUBIC and you can't see it in there, or you bought something and you're not seeing it, don't worry about it. You can check the Block Explorer, check your wallet. You can see what's in there, but don't panic if you staked and you can't see it right now. So it'll get fixed in the near future. And that's only thing that I've been getting quite a few people reaching out to me about, that are concerned if they lost it or something didn't work. But no, the website is just not fully operational right now. So I would say just give it another week or two, and I'm sure everything will be starting to be displayed.
Marvelous. So, guys, I hope, again, I just want to thank everybody for coming, and appreciate all your comments in the chat, and, wish us luck for our Q stream, which hopefully is going to start really ramping up the, the numbers and the eyes on QUBIC. Obviously, today we were only talking about, one project within QUBIC, but once we get going on the actual, the whole of QUBIC, I think we are going to really be, we're going to be one of the biggest streamers out there, I would have thought, because I just think there's just so many more people coming on board. And I think once the word gets out and once AI comes on QUBIC, me and Vibra are going to probably be sitting here with many, many, many thousands of people watching us, which is going to be it's going to be a good journey. But yeah, if you want to comment on our proposal, go on the Discord and look for QStream, and you'll see us in there. Just please hit us out with some positive comments, and hopefully the computers will see our value, and that we do, like, we've got about, what have we got at the moment? We've got 430 plus people on watching on live, which is great. Thanks for coming. And also we tend to get a lot of rewatchers as well, so we get several thousand rewatchers, which is brilliant. And we're just going to keep building and just keep enjoying the streams and keep trying to educate ourselves, and obviously you at the same time. So Vibra, do you want to take the last words, and then we'll close it down?
It was really good stream, lots of information, and God, that's what the communities are so great. The Discord communities, people are there to help if you have questions, and great spots to learn in, engaging, and just come from beyond is special. If you got time, just look into Nicholas von Saberhagen, look into his previous projects, and just to think that QUBIC has been on his mind and being thought about for about 20 years, it just excites me to where the potential of this is. And from all the mainstream interviews I've been watching, talking about how 99% of the AI is just chatbots and unsustainable, energy wasting garbage. It has to be a true decentralized system that is the one that is adopted. And this is the only project of this caliber that I see. Like, when you start looking at Tau and Caspa and these other projects, they don't even compare. QUBIC's on a completely different level, and you can tell the people online that won't look into QUBIC or do research because they're so heavily invested into these other projects that they know their hearts will be shattered once they start reading what they fear. So all the FUD on Twitter is just from these other communities that QUBIC is going to destroy. So we're super early here. It's an unbelievable opportunity, and we're all lucky that we found this. We got in now, because I just know in 2-3 years from now, we're all going to be talking about these days, the early days.
Yeah, which let's be honest with you, are still fun, because we can kind of see where it's going. It's almost like being in a rock band where they often say, once they become really big and famous and wealthy and stuff, they always reminisce on the days where they were trying to make it. And kind of like that's where we are really at the moment. So I'm enjoying the ride because I can kind of see the future, but hopefully we get loads more retail on us. And the great thing about QUBIC is, because of its decentralized nature and the fact that many of the investors are kind of smaller retail ones, it's even more decentralized than for example Bitcoin, whereby some of the big holders are massive whales, billionaire whales, whereas we're not really like that in QUBIC. It's the tokens are very distributed, which is another great thing about it. It's a proper a grassroots kind of growth, which is brilliant.
Definitely.
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, Vibra, and we'll hopefully see you again on our next stream. And yeah, be ready to tune in. Thanks, guys. Take care.